Welcome to Demand and Disrupt, the Disability Podcast. Here, we will learn to advocate for ourselves and each other. This podcast is supported with funds from the Advocato Press, based in Louisville, Kentucky. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Demand and Disrupt, a Disability Podcast. You're in for a treat today. I am here with Lisa. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Kimberly. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. So everyone gets both of us. How are things going for you this August?
Oh my goodness. August is such a crazy time of the year with back to school and all the things. So, we're getting into the rhythm.
Yeah. So have you got the August crud, the germs that the kids bring home?
Both of the kids have, but I somehow managed to avoid it. I don't know how, but I have.
I got it. Both kids and I have gotten it. And then guess what else we got?
What?
Because there's not enough insanity already in my life. We got a puppy.
Oh.
Well,
name her?
Her name is Phoebe. Sometimes we call her other things, but she is adorable. We got her from the shelter. She is a pug mix. I say she's more mix than pug. She's kind of adorable and poorly behaved right now, but we're working on it. So, yeah. Do you have pets at your house?
I do. We have 2 cats and a dog. Frankie, Kittums, and Dixie.
Wow.
The cats, everybody needs cats because they just, I don't know, they're entertainment and frustration, but there's your dog.
That was, sorry about that, y'all, but that's welcome to my life inside the life of a disabled person. It's just like your life, right? Just like everyone else's life. It's just,
it is, those things. And
yeah.
Speaking of, like yesterday, I was trying to have coffee and I hear this. I'm like, what in the world? It sounded like the cat was dying and it was coming from the back of the house. So I ran to the back. I followed the sound. It was in the bathroom. And my first thought was this cat has climbed the shower curtain and has hung itself somehow on the bar. And I've got to get to this cat before it gets tangled up and, So I literally reach up there. There's no cat. Then I realize it's coming from underneath the bathtub because we have one of those jacuzzi tubs in the bathroom and the control panel the access panel had come off. So the cat was under the tub and it couldn't get out because somehow, and this part I don't understand, there was a salad bowl in the bathroom and it had wiggled somehow its way under the tub and was blocking the cat's entrance. So I got the salad bowl out and the cat came out and it was all fine after that. But I still don't know why there was a salad bowl in the bathroom.
So your pets are obviously better behaved than mine?
Well, I don't know. I believe the cat might be peeing in the air conditioner vents. I don't know. There's a smell in our room and it only comes on when the air conditioner comes on and it's not in any other place in the house. And it smells like a baby diaper that's being cooked, like when they pee in their diaper. So I have tried everything. I took off the vent. I sprayed orange Febreze and then it just smelled like somebody peed on an orange. So if anybody knows how I might get that smell out,
that's excellent. Yeah. If anybody knows about that, because Lisa, I don't know. I don't think that's a blind problem. I think that you're not having blind problems.
No, I don't think it's a blind problem. It's like, I don't know why my cats want to climb under bathtubs and pee in the air conditioner vent. But
so yeah, anybody got any tips on Lisa's many woes or how to train a dog to, will do anything really, anything at all, go ahead and send us in those tips to demandanddisrupt@gmail.com. And you could put in the subject line, I don't know, just y'all be crazy. That's what you could put in the subject line.
Pet problems. I don't know, something.
Problems. There you go. So, but speaking of problems and solving it, Walmart, believe it or not, Walmart is looking to solve some of our problems. Have you heard about this? They have a new line of disability things. Let's see, what does it say? It says,
I think they have some weighted utensils.
yeah, and it says to better serve their disabled population. It says ranging from clothing to assistive technology. Yeah. So it says it's an they've introduced an adaptive channel on their website. I guess these are things you can only get through their website, like not in store. But I mean, still, that's pretty cool.
I think it's really neat that they're, trying to be inclusive in that way. I think, I was reading about it yesterday. And one thing they have in their line of products is a backpack that is designed to slide over the handles of a wheelchair. And, I thought, man, that would have never occurred to me as something necessary, but I guess it is.
I'm sure it is. And I get people who are in wheelchairs, I bet, know that. And, isn't it nice that they can maybe just get on Walmart and get the stuff they need, all of us need, for a cheaper price, maybe. And man, if that's got like a 2-day shipping or something, that would be great, wouldn't it?
Oh, yes.
I love it if maybe they get like cane tips for the blind. I don't think they have those right now, but if that could be something they get, that would just be awesome. And reading the story, it says other retailers have gotten into this thing too. It says you can get stuff from Kohl's, Target, CVS, hearing aids now. Hearing aids can be bought over the counter at some of these stores. So,
hopefully it will be a movement and they'll be leading the way and more companies will join suit, because we need more.
That would be great.
Products.
Yeah, that would be great. It'd be great to be able to go into a Walmart when you're doing your back to school shopping and know that all the other kids getting their backpacks are seeing a backpack for a person with a wheelchair, and it would normalize that when they get to school and see someone in a wheelchair. It would normalize that. I think it's great, don't you?
Absolutely.
So, Lisa, how do you feel about traveling? Are you a traveler?
I wish I could love traveling. It's just not my favorite thing. And I don't know if it's because wherever you go, there you are. I mean, the scenery doesn't really change for us much. So, maybe that's it. But then I know of blind people who love to travel. So maybe I'm missing something. What about you?
Hate it. Absolutely hate it. Absolutely hate it. I like my own bed. I like my shower to be set up exactly the way I have set it up, so I know what's what. And yep, not a fan of traveling. Don't like to go much further than the mailbox.
Oh,
quite a homebody. So yeah,
one of the things for travel that I'm not a fan of is I feel out of my element. In the house, I'm the queen of the house, but when you put me in a Airbnb somewhere, it's like, okay, where's the stove? Where's the bathroom? And it's someone constantly having to show me the things. And I don't know. I start to feel like I'm just ready to get home. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. A friend of mine, I went on vacation earlier, and a friend of mine was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." She described vacationing as parenting, but with less convenience, more expense, and with sand up your butt. So yeah.
It's true. Except we typically do the whole mountains thing. We don't go to the beach, so
not a beach. There you go.
I don't know what we'd have in place of sand.
Get leaves in your hair or some such.
Yeah. Like mosquitoes and tick bites.
Always,
I
always.
think
Yeah.
we went on a vacation not too long ago, and someone with us got a spider bite on her butt. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. That would be terrible. That would be terrible. Well, fortunately for us, our roving reporter, Keith Hosey, went to the APSI conference not long ago. I believe it was back in May. And so he did some interviews for us so that you and I could stay at home, queens of our castles, and not go.
Thank you, Keith.
Exactly. So now we're going to hear some of what Keith talked about at the APSI conference. I'm here with our roving reporter, Keith Hosey, and he's going to give us another roundup of interviews that he conducted and people he talked to at the APSI conference. Hello, Keith. How are you?
Hi, Kimberly. I'm doing well. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for doing this for us. I appreciate it so much. So tell our listeners again, what is APSI?
So, APSI is the Association of Professionals for Supporting Employment First. That is their current acronym. When they started originally, it was the Association of Professionals in Supported Employment. So it is a professional membership group for individuals who work in the field of helping people with disabilities find jobs.
And that was a really well put and succinct way of defining supported employment, correct?
Yes, yes.
Excellent. Helping people with disabilities find jobs. That's great. That's excellent. Perfect. So tell us about the first person we're going to hear from.
So this interview is with Rachel Lanter, who is one of the co-directors of an agency out of Lexington, Kentucky, serving Central Kentucky. And that agency is called Build Inclusion. And they do supported employment and other related services for youth, young adults with disabilities.
And she's very well spoken. She's very passionate about what she does, isn't she?
She is, absolutely. And full disclosure, I know Rachel. I also serve on the board of Build Inclusion. And I obviously saw her at the conference and pulled her aside and said, "Can you be one of our interviewees?" So she was one of the individuals we interviewed. But she's really great at her job, and you can tell she's passionate when you hear her talk.
Excellent. Now, real quick, go over. She talks about person first. So, can you tell us a little bit about what that means?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, person first, person-centered services is a mode of providing services to individuals, and the idea is that person is in the center of the services. So what happens is the old model of delivering services to people with disabilities was that there was a professional on one side of a desk in a suit telling that person with a disability what would be best for their life in their disability. And long story short, along came this thing called the independent living movement, as well as disability rights movement. And it changed a little bit, and people with disabilities said, you know what, we think we might be experts in our own bodies and minds and selves, and we think we should have some say in what happens to us. And so all of these different disability services have slowly over the years changed to this idea that maybe that person with a disability does know what they want in life, or what might be best for them in life. So it's just a really funny way of saying something that those of us that have been around in the independent living movement find as it's kind of just secondhand, it's natural. But it is kind of a new concept for some other disability service agencies and industries.
Okay. Okay, great.
And Kimberly, just by new, I mean, not like the last 3 years, but, last 15 years or so.
Right. It's so interesting, isn't there? There was the 70s where really lots of social movements were taking place. And then, of course, for us, the ADA was, the gold standard that happened in 1990. So, yeah, new now is right about 10 to 15 years. Yeah.
Yep.
So let's listen to Keith's interview with Rachel at the APSI conference.
We're here with Rachel Lanter with Build Inclusion, which is a nonprofit agency here in Lexington, Kentucky. And Rachel, I want to ask you a couple questions about supported employment and the work that you do.
Sure.
First of all, can you explain what supported employment is to me as if I didn't know?
Sure. So supported employment in a nutshell is how we get people jobs that really highlight their skills and strengths. So you think about when you traditionally you go out into the workforce, you find a job that appeals to you, but how do you know when a job appeals to you, right? So supported employment is how we help people understand what are their skills and what are their strengths, and then we help them get jobs in the community that meet not only their interests and skills, but meets the employer's needs in the community as well.
So when you're providing supported employment, so that our listeners kind of understand, are you going to meet with people in an office behind a desk, or are you going to be, how does that look when you're helping someone find a job?
Sure. I kind of chuckle because at this point I don't even have a desk because you don't need one. No, of course not. When you work with someone in supported employment, you are out in the community. We joke all the time, we're boots on the ground. We're out in the community. My favorite part of supported employment is the discovery process. So that's the part in the very beginning where we're just getting to know somebody. We get to be out in the community, we go to their homes, we get to do things that they're already enjoying. And that's how we get to know people, right? That's how that's how you would make friends. That's how you would get to know anybody. So that's how we kind of uncover. It's discovery is exactly what it sounds like. You're discovering their interests, their skills and strengths. We're at libraries, we're at parks, we're trying out different activities in the community. So I'm never at a desk. No. And then once we get through the discovery phase, once we kind of have a good idea of what makes somebody unique, what's their spark, then we can use that information to help guide the job development process, where we help them find a job that really kind of appeals to those interests, but also highlights the strengths and skills that they have. And then once we get somebody a job, we get to go to work with them and offer support to them on the job, which is also really, really neat, because then we get to help facilitate them as they're growing and they're learning and they're getting all these new tasks in, and we get to help see that they're set up for success from the jump, and then we get to watch them grow in their job.
So your job isn't done when you find someone a job. You support them on that job and help them learn their job too.
Absolutely, yeah. And at Build Inclusion, we have a saying that once we work with them, we're always going to work with them, because we want to help people. We don't want to just walk them into their first job ever and be like, okay, have fun, see ya. No, we want to be there as a source of support for as long as we possibly can, and make sure that from the jump, they're set up for success, but we're always going to be there to help support them in their journey. So it could be that today I'm helping someone, sign the initial paperwork that they're going to be hired on, but in 6 months from now, I get to still be there to pop back in and say, hey, how's it going? What can I help you with? What can I do to support you right now? And then we've had people too that a couple years on the job, they're like, you know what, I would really like to move up. I'd like to find something, I've gained these skills. I'd like to find something else that I can put these skills to use, and I want to challenge, and we can help them with that too. So lifelong.
So you mentioned being out in the community with your clients or consumers. What's the coolest job you've ever supported someone on? What's the most interesting job or most interesting company you've ever visited?
Oh yeah, that's a tough one, because I've been to so many different cool places with people. One of my favorite stories, though, I think, and it's not necessarily unique or whatever, but it was a full circle moment for this person. I helped someone get a job at a daycare, and the specific daycare that she really was very adamant that she wanted to work at was a daycare that specifically helped kids with more higher significant medical needs than a traditional daycare would feel comfortable serving. And it was really important to her, to this employee, give back to the community that helped raise her. And so it turned out that at one point she did go to that daycare, and then she tells me all the time, I'm so happy here. I get to help raise people's kids and show them what it looks like to work with a disability. And she's moved up the ladder, and she has all these certifications now. She's got her CPR, she's got her CNA, she's got all these different things. And that the daycare that she went to, now it's helping her grow in that role. And she gets to show the kids that she works with all the time, hey, this could be you. You know, you're at this daycare now, you're little, you're still learning and growing, but look at your future. This is what the possibilities are endless. So that's for me the coolest thing, and it's not the most unique or the most interesting maybe for other people, but it's been the coolest to get to be part of her journey in that.
And I would say myself working in supported employment, the most exciting thing is when someone gets that job.
Yeah.
Just you know, you work with someone and you see them put in the work and put in the sweat, and then they finally land that job. Nothing better in my world than someone calling me to say, I got the job.
Yes, absolutely.
Tell me a little bit, because we all have various backgrounds, even though we're working in supported employment.
Sure.
What is kind of, when you think about your jobs before working at Build Inclusion, what's the most fun or coolest job you've ever had?
Coolest job I've ever had. I was a nanny once upon a time. That's how I kind of worked my way through college and grad school before I found my way into the disability community. I was a nanny. And that was a really cool experience for me because basically I got paid to hang out with these cool kiddos and hang out at the pool all day. But I learned a lot about different approaches to parenting and raising kids, and I learned about the Montessori method for the first time. And Marie Montessori, as you know, had a really significant role in the disability community and disability education eons ago. And so that was kind of my first introduction, was like this family was really into Montessori method and really into like, you know, digging deep in like individualized things, not just like standard education, standard parenting, you know, everything was very person-centered. And even though I come from a background in social work, that was really my first introduction to person-centered anything. So that was a really cool and fun job for me, and it was because of the parents that I nannied for. They kind of encouraged me to find my way to social work because I was on a totally different trajectory before I met them. And they were like, you know, we've really been thinking about you, and we can tell that you're not really happy with the career choices you're about to be making, and maybe you feel pressured into that way. Or I was looking into clinical psychology, and that was a lot more clinical than I thought I wanted. And so they were like, what if you looked into social work? And I said, okay, I'll look into it. Fell in love with social work. And it was because of social work, my master's program, I had to do a practicum placement, so an internship, right? And I was like, what would be the least likely thing that I had an experience with before? Like, what would be something kind of out of the blue that I have no idea, I've never done anything like it before. And I was like, you know, I don't have a lot of experience in the disability community, and I'd like to. And I found my way to Build Inclusion and fell in love with the work. And it's crazy how just a job like helping take care of somebody's kids for the summer and lounge out at a pool can land you your dream job, where you get to help other people find their dream jobs.
That's great, and I think that's such an important story for our listeners who... Most of our listeners are individuals with disabilities, but
Right.
just that natural experience of one job leading to another career, and
Right.
that, you know, I think the statistic is now people don't just change jobs several times in their adulthood, people change careers.
Yes.
I think 3 or maybe 5 times in their lifetime. And so the idea of going to somewhere and working your whole life there is really an idea of the past.
I was just telling somebody the other day, you know, we don't live in a society where we're expected to work at the same place until we retire, or if you don't have the luxury of a retirement fund, you work somewhere until you die, and it's a really antiquated idea. And I kind of love that we've moved away from that, because human beings are not meant to stay stagnant. We're meant to evolve, and we're meant to be dynamic, and we're meant to change our minds. And I think that's kind of a really neat platform, that if we come from the background and the idea of like, you know, yes, I'm going to help you get a job today, but what if you change your mind, and what if you meet somebody at that job that leads you to a bigger and better thing? That's cool. That's fun. We're meant to do that. We're meant to evolve and change, and you're not going to be the same person today as you will be in 5 years. I mean, you may be totally different, and that's fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That was great. And so, Keith, the next interview was with Teresa Brandenburg, and she is with the Human Development Institute at the University of Kentucky. Can you tell us a little about her and what she does?
Yeah, I sure can. So Teresa is one of the fidelity reviewers, and I'll explain that in a minute, for the Kentucky's individual placement and supports program, which is a type of supported employment. So Rachel talked about supported employment really in general, and the IPS model here is one way of delivering that service, and it's an evidence-based model. And Teresa talks a little bit about that model. She's a very smart individual, and she's been doing this work for quite a while. Before she worked at HDI as a fidelity reviewer, she worked for State Voc Rehab for a number of years and retired from there. So she really has a wealth of knowledge and knows a lot of people around the state, and is just a really great person.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's listen to Keith's interview with Teresa.
We're here with Teresa Brandenburg, who works for the University of Kentucky's Human Development Institute. Teresa, in her role at HDI, is an IPS supported employment trainer, and I'm going to let Teresa explain exactly what IPS is and how it works.
Hi Keith, thank you for having me on here. IPS stands for Individual Placement and Support, and it's a specific supported employment program that was developed out of Dartmouth University back in the early 2000s, and it's done all the tests and norms and things like that, and it's an evidence-based practice for people with severe and persistent mental illness and substance use disorder to help them go to work, to provide the support so that they can go to work in competitive integrated employment.
So when you say that it is evidence-based, what exactly does that mean?
Well, the researchers have done all the studies, and it has a fidelity scale, a 25-item fidelity scale, so they did all the studies to determine what's going to work the best to help to make people the most successful at work. So they developed this 25-item fidelity scale that people adhere to, and it's kind of a roadmap for implementing IPS supported employment. And there's also 8 practices and principles that it goes to. One of the major ones is zero exclusion. So as long as anybody says that they want to work and they have that severe and persistent mental illness or substance use disorder, they can be eligible for IPS services. It's a team approach. So we work in partnership with the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation here in Kentucky. The IPS program itself is international. There is about 24 states and 4 or 5 countries, such as New Zealand, Portugal, Italy, England, just to name a few. I know it's those 4 for sure. So it is international. It's not just located here in the United States. So it's normed kind of all over the world. And it's helped lots of people go to work. There's about a 43% success rate across the international for IPS. And that's one of the highest success rates for people working with disabilities for people with disabilities going to work.
So I want to ask you about, you mentioned zero exclusion as part of the IPS model. And I love that aspect of it because basically it says we're going to assume someone is able to go to work. And in so many aspects, and a lot of our listeners are individuals with disabilities, so many aspects in our society, people with disabilities run up against barriers. And what this practice is saying is that we're going to assume that you can work and we're going to help you find that job.
That's right. No matter, it doesn't matter if somebody said you're not work ready, you have a history of incarceration, you maybe have a history of violence in the past, if you are still actively using substances, you may not be attending therapy or not even be medication compliant. No matter what, it's zero exclusion. If you say you want to work, this program will work with you.
And Teresa, you also mentioned individuals. This practice, all of the data shows that it works really well for individuals with severe and persistent mental illness. And for our listeners, I just want to kind of explain that those are individuals who fall under that category are individuals who may have active psychosis. They may have a diagnosis of schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar disorder, major depression. So the employment rates for individuals in this category traditionally are very low. Individuals, and oftentimes individuals are not accessing the systems that can help them. But you're here saying that this system that an agency could come and pick up to serve these people is getting a 40-something% success rate, which is phenomenal.
I am saying that, and it is phenomenal. And I have a background in vocational rehabilitation. I worked in that field with a public VR system in Kentucky for 27 years. Prior to that, I worked at a substance use facility. And of all the programs that I've ever worked with, this is the best. It's been the most supportive and the most successful in it.
And so I think that what my takeaway is from this really is that there are a lot of individuals out there who might have those diagnoses and have tried to work and have not been successful and have been discouraged, that there is a program out there for you, and you can access it in any state, and you can, there can be success, and you can find a job and a career and live in that recovery model.
That's correct. We train people. I'm one of the trainers for the state, and we work with the different providers that we have in order to help them provide quality services so that people that have experienced maybe job loss and are not being employed in the past because of their mental illness or substance use disorder, that they can go to work and be successful. We look at, even a job loss, we do not look at that as a negative thing. That's kind of a positive thing, because we can look at what works, what didn't work, and what worked in that job, and then that gives us kind of more of a focus to go down, that we're going to look at what worked with it, so we'll move that on to the next job.
And to me, that makes so much sense as someone who's worked in supported employment for so many years, that sure, it stinks to lose a job if you're fired, or maybe even if you quit because you feel like it didn't fit right for you. But that looking on the bright side of, what did I learn from this?
Right.
What can I bring into my next job? Maybe I know for sure I don't want to work in the food industry anymore. Maybe I want to try an office job now and see if that works for me. So this idea that we're constantly learning, and I'm a lifelong learner, and I love that. It just makes so much sense to me that that would be an aspect that's a great lesson for all of us. We can all take that away.
Right, and I think we all do. None of us have stayed in the same job that we started out in. We've progressed over the years, and people with disabilities, they need to be able to progress too. They should be able to progress just like us, and that's one thing that this program does. You may start out in a certain job, but as you grow, that employment specialist can help you change careers. If you decide to, you may work in one thing and think, oh no, I don't really like this, but I really have an interest in this. They can help you explore that and move on to a different career, or move on up in the career that you've chosen.
I think one of my favorite things about IPS supported employment is that something that I learned early on in my career in disability rights is that oftentimes people with disabilities are handled with what some say kid gloves, right?
Right.
We don't want to, you know, I've heard people say we want to make sure our participants are safe, and things like that. But to me, having the right to fail, and those aren't my words, those come out of the independent living movement, but the right to fail is a right as well.
Right.
So to get out there and to get into a real job and to try it out and to learn a lesson, even if you fail on that job, as a person with a disability, you have a right to fail as well, and learn and move on and get a new career.
Right, just like anybody else. You know, everybody, nobody's going to always be successful. There's always going to be failures, and we learn from those failures. And then we can pick ourselves up, we learn from those and move on and do bigger and better things. And people with disabilities can do the same thing.
So Keith, in the interview, Teresa talks about a fidelity scale. So can you tell us a little about what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. So fidelity in this context has to do with treatment and or research. And all it really means is adhering as much as you can to the parameters and the model so that you can get similar outcomes. So just as fidelity means in a marriage means staying true to your partner, fidelity in treatment means staying true to that evidence-based model. So in the context of Teresa's interview, we're talking about an actual scale that measures that. So you can look at it and say, how close are we practicing this evidence-based practice? What can we improve and do better? Because the better we do in this prescribed practice, the better our outcomes are.
I see. I understand. So thanks. That was very helpful for a term that I personally was having a little trouble wrapping my mind around. So thanks for that. And that's fidelity that all of these different areas around the state who are practicing this kind of evidence-based approach. It's how faithful they're being to the model, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, Keith. And thanks for all your great work. And of course, we can't end a segment without, I know you've got some interesting updates coming out with Adapt. So give us a little tease about what's coming up for Kentucky with Adapt.
I do. So we are moving forward with starting a chapter of Adapt in Kentucky. There is going to be an initial training. It's being planned right now. If people are interested in being trained or being some sort of part of this Adapt movement, they can email adaptky@gmail.com. That's ADAPTKY@gmail.com. And they can get involved in this grassroots movement.
I love the email chain that's already going through. I love how it says that it will be training the people who will train others, and that it is not required that you get arrested.
That's right. That's right. I think Adapt sometimes gets a bad rap because what we see in the media often is that last step in their advocacy efforts. We don't see the months that they spend talking to elected officials and engaging with elected officials, calling and meeting and all, and the theatrics that they do. That it is the direct actions, the non-violent direct actions, is a last resort. But it should be an option out there. So
as a parent, nothing would make me prouder than for my kids to have to come with my husband to bail me out of jail because I got arrested for protesting on behalf of mine or someone else's civil rights.
I know that I'd be lying if I said that I did not have the same thoughts. So many people I've talked to while trying to get this kind of up and alive is so many people have the same, like, man, that's really on my bucket list to be arrested.
Exactly.
I want to be, arrested in an direct action. Sure. Yeah. But for some of us, job security may depend on not that happening. So there's certainly a seat at the table for anyone who's interested in advocating for the full and inclusive rights of people with disabilities.
Absolutely. We're just adapt KY. I'm telling you, that's where all the cool kids are going to be. So anyone who's disabled or just a disabled ally, an ally to the disability community, sign up and let's get some things going.
Me. It's all the cool kids and me. I'll be there.
Thanks so much, Keith. Thanks for all your great work. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Kimberly.
If you like the podcast, remember to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you really like the podcast, we'd love it if you could leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. That helps more people to find us. If you really, really like the podcast, then please tell someone about it, either in person or send them an email or just share the link on social media. Thank you all. Every bit helps, and it makes a huge difference for us. If you'd like a transcript, please send us an email to demandanddisrupt@gmail.com and put transcript in the subject line. Thanks to Steve Moore for helping us out with transcripts. Thanks to Chris Unkin for our theme music. Demand and Disrupt is a publication of the Advocato Press with generous support from the Center for Accessible Living located in Louisville, Kentucky. And you can find links to buy the book, A Celebration of Family, Stories of Parents with Disabilities, in our show notes. Thanks, everyone.
You say you've seen a change in me. Just for once I think I would agree. We both know there's a difference. We've had our curtain call, and this time the writing's on the wall. War of words we can defend. Two damaged hearts refuse to mend. This situation's pointless with each and every day. It's not a game we need to play. To make things better, repair and rearrange things, but each and every letter spells out the need for us to open up our minds and hearts to change. Then what will be, will be. Disregard for good to set us free. There's just no way of knowing if love lives anymore. We'll turn out the light, then close the door. Try to make things better, repair and rearrange things, but each and every letter spells out